I, Joseph Peterson, reject you, Jennifer Wayne, as my mate for your sister, Susan Williams. Those words would echo through the blood moon for eternity. Jennifer Wayne approached the ceremonial stone circle in her mother's silver dress, her heart a wild drum against her ribs. The entire silver fang pack encircled the clearing, their eyes glowing beneath the crimson moon, witnesses to what should have been her destiny. The ancient oak trees towered overhead, their branches skeletal against the blood-red sky. Torches flickered in iron sconces, casting dancing shadows across the assembled wolves. 300 pairs of eyes tracked her every movement. Another plain Jane trying to claim an alpha. Joseph Peterson stood at the center of the circle, his broad shoulders silhouetted against the moon. His jaw was set, his eyes cold, nothing like the warm glances he'd given her during training runs. Behind him, partially hidden in shadow, Susan Williams waited, Jennifer's younger sister. Beautiful, confident Susan, whose cascading dark hair and perfect features had always made Jennifer feel invisible. Jennifer's wolf stirred uneasily inside her. Something was wrong. The air tasted of copper and coming rain. Before we dive deeper into the story, kindly click subscribe. Like this video, and tell me in the comments which country you are watching from. Your support helps me bring you more thrilling stories, and trust me, you won't want to miss them. Now, let's get into the story. The pack's alpha, Marcus Thornfield, raised his hand for silence. His voice boomed across the clearing. Joseph Peterson of the Thornfield line. Do you accept your fated mate as chosen by the blood moon? Jennifer's breath caught. This was it. The moment she'd dreamed of since her wolf first stirred at 16. Joseph would claim her, the mate bond would solidify, and finally she would matter. Joseph looked at her then, really looked at her, his lip curled. I, Joseph Peterson, his voice rang clear and cruel. Reject you, Jennifer Wayne, as my mate. The clearing erupted. Gasps. Laughter. Shocked whispers that cut like claws. Jennifer's knees buckled. The mate bond barely formed, fragile as spider silk snapped with such violence that she doubled over. Silver fire ripped through her veins. Her wolf howled in agony, a sound of pure betrayal that only she could hear. For your sister, Susan Williams. The second blow landed harder than the first. Susan stepped from the shadows, her red dress clinging like blood. She glided to Joseph's side, sliding her arm through his with practiced ease. When she looked at Jennifer, her smile was victory incarnate. Looks like fate knew better, sister. Susan's voice carried across the stunned silence, sweet as poison. An alpha needs a Luna who can shine, not whatever you are. The pack devoured it. Some covered their mouths, pretending shock. Most didn't bother hiding their glee. Jennifer Wayne, the forgotten daughter, finally getting what she deserved. Did you see her face? Joseph always deserved better than that mouse. Susan will make a real Luna. Jennifer pressed a hand to her chest, feeling the mate bond disintegrate like ash. Each severed thread sent fresh waves of pain through her body. Her legs shook, her vision swam. She tried to stand, but the world tilted sideways. Someone snickered from the crowd, then another. The laughter spread like wildfire. Jennifer's wolf clawed at her ribs, desperate to flee, to run until her paws bled. She stumbled backward, away from the circle, away from Joseph's contempt and Susan's triumph. Her mother's silver dress caught on the ceremonial stones, tearing. Even the moon seemed to mock her blood, red and swollen, bearing witness to her humiliation. She turned to flee into the forest, her vision blurred by tears that refused to fall. Then, the earth moved. The king's arrival, the ground beneath their feet trembled. Torches guttered and died, plunging the clearing into near darkness. The laughter died in throats. From deep in the ancient forest came a sound that froze blood, a howl unlike anything Jennifer had ever heard. Not the call of a wolf, something older, deeper, primordial. The blood moon darkened, as if a shadow had passed across its face. The trees themselves seemed to bend away from the path as riders emerged from the darkness. 7 massive wolves, each the size of a small horse, their eyes burning gold. And atop the lead wolf rode a figure that made every pack member drop to their knees on instinct. The Lycan King. Donald Turner was a legend made flesh. 8 feet of raw power wrapped in midnight armor, a crown of silver antlers gleaming above hair as black as a starless sky. His face was all sharp angles and brutal beauty, a warrior carved by war and ancient magic. But it was his eyes that trapped Jennifer where she stood. Golden, burning, hungry. They locked onto her across the clearing with such intensity that her broken bond scars flared with new fire. Not pain this time. Something else. Something that made her wolf sit up and whimper. The king's massive wolf prowled forward, each step deliberate. The pack scrambled backward, heads bowed in submission. Even Alpha Marcus dropped to one knee. Joseph's arrogance crumbled, his face drained of color. Susan clutched his arm, her confidence evaporating like morning mist. King Donald Turner dismounted in one fluid motion. He stood a full head taller than Joseph, radiating power that made the air itself feel heavy. His voice, when he spoke, was gravel and dark honey, a sound that resonated in bones. Which of you? He took a step forward. The pack collectively flinched. Dares reject what is mine? The question hung in the air like a blade. Jennifer's legs finally gave out. She sank to the ground, her dress pooling around her. But she couldn't look away from those golden eyes. They held her pinned, searching, seeing something in her that no one else ever had. The king moved through the kneeling wolves like death's shadow. They parted before him, not daring to meet his gaze. He stopped 5 feet from Jennifer. That's when she felt it. Heat. Starting at the base of her neck, spreading across her collarbone like wildfire, she gasped, pressing her hand to her throat. Beneath her fingers, her skin was burning. "No," Susan whispered behind her. "No, that's impossible." The king tilted his head, his eyes narrowing. "Show me." Jennifer's hand fell away from her neck, as if pulled by invisible strings. She looked down. Golden light spilled from beneath her skin. Ancient runes unfurling across her throat, her collarbone spreading down toward her heart, symbols that predated the written word. The same marks that adorned the king's armor. The same marks that every child learned about in stories of the first Lycans. The clearing erupted in chaos. Wolves scrambled backward. Someone screamed. Jennifer heard Susan's voice rising in panic, but the words were lost beneath the roaring in her ears. Joseph stumbled forward, his face a mask of disbelief. "That's not. She can't be." Silence. The king's single word dropped like a hammer. Joseph's mouth snapped shut. His rejection marked the ugly scar on his chest where he'd severed their bond, suddenly flared black. He cried out, clutching his heart as the curse took hold. Pain. Every ounce of suffering he'd inflicted on Jennifer reflected back tenfold. The king ignored him. He approached Jennifer slowly, giving her time to flee if she chose. But she was transfixed, watching the golden marks dance across her skin like living fire. He knelt before her, the king of all Lycans, kneeling in the dirt before a rejected she-wolf. His hand rose, hovering over the mark, not touching, waiting for permission. "May I?" His voice gentled, though it still held enough power to make her heart race. Jennifer nodded, not trusting her voice. The moment his palm pressed against the glowing mark, the clearing exploded with light. The claim. Pure golden energy erupted from where they touched, washing over the assembled pack in waves. The luna's mark blazed so bright, it painted the trees gold, turned the red moon back to silver. And in that light, no one could deny what they saw. The same mark appearing on the king's throat. Ancient runes connecting, completing, binding, fated mates. Chosen by magic older than kingdoms. King Donald Turner rose to his full height, pulling Jennifer gently to her feet. His hand remained on her mark, steady, possessive, protective. He turned to face the stunned Silver Fang pack. "Before this moon," his voice carried to every corner of the clearing. "Before this pack. Before the ancient laws that govern us all." He pulled Jennifer against his side. She felt small next to his warrior's frame, but not weak. Not anymore. The mark pulsed with strength she'd never known. "I claim Jennifer Wayne as my mate, my Luna, the queen of all Lycans." The mark responded to his words, blazing brighter. Jennifer's skin hummed with power. Her wolf, broken moments before, surged to life but different now. Stronger, ancient, connected to something vast and terrible and beautiful. The pack fell to their knees as one, not out of respect, out of terror. They had laughed at the future queen. They had mocked the Lycan king's chosen mate. Susan's scream cut through the silence. "No, this is wrong. She's nothing. She's—" The king's eyes flashed. The temperature dropped 20 degrees. "Continue that sentence," he said softly, "and you'll learn what it means to insult a crowned Luna." Susan's voice died. Behind her, Joseph had collapsed completely, writhing as the rejection curse burned through him. Black veins spread from his heart, the visible price of discarding fate. Alpha Marcus crawled forward on his knees. "Your Majesty, we didn't know—" "You didn't ask." The king's judgment was absolute. "You saw a quiet she-wolf and assumed she was worthless. You saw her sister's beauty and missed the power sleeping beneath." He looked down at Jennifer, his expression softening fractionally. "Do you feel it now?" She did. The power he spoke of, it sang through her veins, wild and free. The Luna mark wasn't just a symbol, it was a key, unlocking something that had always lived inside her. Something her pack's cruelty had tried to bury. "Yes," she whispered, then louder. "Yes." The king smiled. It transformed his brutal features into something devastating. "Good." He turned back to the pack. "You wanted to witness a blood moon claiming. You've witnessed history. Jennifer Wayne is no longer of the Silver Fang pack. She belongs to the crown now." His eyes found Joseph, still shaking on the ground. "As for you, Joseph Peterson, you who rejected the future queen in front of 300 witnesses," the king's voice dropped to something deadly. "You will live with that knowledge every day for the rest of your miserable life. The mark you bear will ensure you never forget." Joseph looked up, his face twisted in agony. "Please, no wolf shall touch what is mine." The king's declaration echoed with ancient magic. "Those who wronged her will kneel or bleed." The words sealed themselves into reality. Several pack members gasped as invisible bonds snapped into place. A blood oath witnessed by the moon. King Donald turned, keeping Jennifer tucked against his side. "My Luna is tired. We're leaving. Your Alpha will receive terms for this incident." His wolf appeared at his side, enormous and terrifying. He lifted Jennifer onto its back as if she weighed nothing, then swung up behind her. His arms encircled her, one hand still resting over her glowing mark. As they began to ride away, Jennifer looked back one last time. The clearing that had witnessed her humiliation now witnessed her ascension. 300 wolves knelt in the dirt, heads bowed in submission. Susan sobbed, held up only by her pride. Joseph lay broken, paying the price for his cruelty. And above them all, the blood moon shone silver once more. Jennifer turned forward, letting the king guide them into the forest. Her sister's silver dress was ruined, torn, and stained, but it didn't matter. When she looked down at her glowing marks, she saw something else reflected in their light. A queen being born from the ashes of a rejected girl. Have you ever seen a reversal this savage? The Lycan king's fortress rose from the mountains like a crown of stone and starlight. As they approached through ancient forests where normal wolves feared to tread, Jennifer felt the mark on her skin pulse in rhythm with her racing heart. She had so many questions. Why her? Why now? What did the prophecy mean? But beneath the confusion, beneath the pain of her shattered bond and humiliation, something else stirred. A memory, a fragment of truth that her pack had tried to bury. Jennifer Wayne hadn't always been invisible. Once, a very long time ago, she'd been something more. The king felt her tension. His arms tightened slightly around her, protective without being possessive. "You're safe now," he murmured against her ear. But Jennifer didn't feel safe. She felt awake. For the first time in her life, she felt exactly where she was meant to be. The pack's reaction was instantaneous and primal. 300 wolves dropped to their knees as one, their heads bowed, necks exposed in submission. Even Alpha Marcus, who commanded respect through sheer dominance, fell to the ground with his forehead pressed into the dirt. Jennifer stood frozen, the only one still upright. Her broken bond burned in her chest, but something else stirred beneath the pain. A pull, a recognition her wolf felt, even if her mind didn't understand. The trees themselves seemed to part as the riders emerged from shadow. 7 massive wolves, each the size of a draft horse, their coats shimmering like liquid silver under the darkened moon. Their eyes burned gold, not the amber of regular wolves, but true gold, molten and ancient. Atop each sat a warrior in black armor, their faces hidden behind helmets that caught no light. But the lead wolf? Jennifer's breath stopped. It was massive, easily twice the size of its companions. Midnight black, with eyes like twin suns. And atop it sat a figure that made the air itself feel heavy with power. King Donald Turner. He wore no helmet. His face was all brutal angles and sharp beauty, a warrior carved from war and legend. His hair, black as a starless sky, fell past his shoulders. Ancient armor covered his chest, marked with runes that glowed faintly in the darkness. A crown of silver antlers sat upon his head, proclaiming his status even if his presence didn't. But it was his eyes that trapped Jennifer where she stood. Golden, blazing, searching. They swept across the kneeling pack with casual disdain before locking onto her. The moment their gazes met, Jennifer felt something crack inside her chest. Not painful like the bond breaking, this was different. Like a door she hadn't known, existed suddenly swinging open. The king's wolf prowled forward with deliberate slowness. Each massive paw struck the ground like thunder. The pack trembled but didn't dare look up. Susan had gone completely white, clinging to Joseph, who looked like he might vomit. King Donald dismounted in one fluid motion. He stood 8 feet tall, towering over every wolf present. When he moved, it was with the controlled grace of a predator that had never known fear. His voice, when he finally spoke, wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It carried across the clearing with the weight of absolute authority. "Which of you dares reject what is mine?" The question hung in the air like a blade at their throats. Jennifer's legs shook. She still couldn't look away from him. The pull grew stronger with every step he took toward the kneeling pack. Her wolf, broken and bleeding moments ago, suddenly lifted its head inside her, ears forward, alert. Alpha Marcus tried to speak. "Your Majesty, we didn't expect—" "I asked," the king interrupted, his tone dropping to something deadly. "Which of you rejected my mate?" The clearing went silent. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Joseph's head snapped up, his face a mask of confusion and dawning horror. "Your mate? That's impossible. She's—" He looked at Jennifer, then back at the king. "She's nobody. Just—" The king moved faster than should have been possible for something his size. One moment he stood 20 feet away. The next, his hand was wrapped around Joseph's throat, lifting him off the ground like he weighed nothing. Finish that sentence, the king said softly, and it will be your last. Joseph's face turned purple. His hands clawed uselessly at the king's wrist. Susan screamed, stumbling backward. Please, Joseph choked out. I didn't know. You didn't ask. The king's eyes blazed brighter. You saw a quiet she-wolf and assumed she was worthless. You saw her beauty. His gaze flicked to Susan with pure contempt and missed the power sleeping beneath. He dropped Joseph, who collapsed in a heap, gasping for air. The king's attention turned to Alpha Marcus, still kneeling, his body rigid with terror. What is your name, Alpha? M. Marcus Thornfield, Your Majesty. Alpha Thornfield. The king's voice dripped with disdain. You allowed this? He gestured at Jennifer, still standing alone near the edge of the circle, her dress torn, her face marked by humiliation. You permitted your pack to mock what belongs to me. Your Majesty, I swear we didn't know. Ignorance is not innocence. The king took a step forward. Every wolf in the clearing flinched. Tell me, Alpha, what punishment befits a pack that humiliates a Luna, that laughs while fate itself is torn apart? Marcus's voice broke. Please, Your Majesty, have mercy. Mercy? The king's laugh was harsh, humorless. Did she receive mercy? Did any of you show her compassion while she bled? He turned then, his golden eyes finding Jennifer across the clearing. The intensity of his gaze should have made her look away. Instead, she found herself walking forward, not consciously deciding to move her body, simply obeyed some instinct deeper than thought. The crowd parted before her, wolves scrambling to get out of her path. She walked through them, head high despite the tears drying on her cheeks, despite the pain still echoing in her chest. She stopped 5 feet from the king. Up close, he was even more overwhelming. Power radiated from him in waves that made her skin prickle. But beneath the raw dominance, she sensed something else. Control, restraint. Like he was constantly holding himself back from unleashing devastation. His eyes narrowed as he studied her. You're trembling. I'm trying not to, Jennifer whispered. His expression softened fractionally. What's your name? Jennifer. Jennifer Wayne. Jennifer. He said it like he was tasting the word. Do you know why I'm here? She shook her head, not trusting her voice. Look down, he commanded gently. Jennifer looked down at herself. At first, she saw nothing but her torn dress, the dirt staining the silver fabric. Then, heat. It started at the base of her neck, spreading like liquid fire across her collarbone. Not painful. Warm. Alive. She gasped, pressing her hand to her throat. Beneath her fingers, her skin was glowing. No, Susan's voice cut through the stunned silence. No, that's not possible. She can't. Jennifer pulled her hand away, staring at her reflection in a nearby ceremonial mirror. Golden light spilled from beneath her skin, ancient runes unfurling across her throat and chest. They moved like living things, elegant symbols that predated written language. The same marks that decorated the king's armor. The same marks that every child learned about in stories of the first Lycans. The Luna's mark, the mate bond of kings. She can't have that, Joseph stammered, stumbling to his feet. She's not, she's just quiet. The king's single word dropped like a hammer. Joseph's mouth snapped shut, though his face remained twisted in disbelief. The king approached Jennifer slowly, giving her time to flee if she chose. But she was transfixed, watching the golden marks dance across her skin like fire. May I? His voice gentled, though it still held enough power to make her heart race. Jennifer nodded, not trusting herself to speak. His hand rose, hovering over the glowing mark, waiting. When she didn't pull away, he pressed his palm against her throat. The clearing exploded with light. Pure golden energy erupted from where they touched, washing over the assembled pack in waves. The Luna's mark blazed so bright, it painted the trees gold, turned the red moon back to silver, made the shadows flee to the edges of the forest. And in that light, everyone saw it clearly. The same mark appearing on the king's throat. Ancient runes connecting, completing, binding. Fated mates. Chosen by magic older than kingdoms. The pack's reaction was immediate. Gasps, screams. The sound of wolves scrambling backward in terror. Some pressed their faces harder into the dirt, as if trying to burrow into the earth itself. Jennifer felt the power singing through her veins, wild and free and utterly foreign. Her wolf surged inside her, but different now. Stronger, ancient, connected to something vast and terrible and beautiful. The king's eyes never left hers. In their golden depths, she saw recognition, satisfaction, possession. "Do you feel it?" he asked quietly. His voice meant only for her despite the crowd. She did. She did. The mark wasn't just glowing, it was alive, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. And she could feel him through it. His power, his presence, the bond settling into place like a key in a lock that had waited centuries to be opened. "Yes," she whispered. Joseph made a sound half sob, half denial. He stumbled forward, his hand outstretched. "This is wrong. She's Jennifer. This is a mistake. You can't." The moment his fingers brushed her arm, he screamed. Jennifer watched in horror as black veins spread from Joseph's chest, radiating outward from where the rejection mark had scarred his heart. The mark that every wolf bore when they severed a mate bond. Except now it was changing, darkening, burning like acid through his veins. The rejection curse. "What?" Joseph clawed at his chest, his face contorted in agony. "What's happening to me?" The king's voice was cold, clinical. "You're experiencing what she felt when you rejected her." Every ounce of pain, humiliation, and betrayal reflected back tenfold. "It's the price of rejecting a destined Luna." Joseph collapsed to his knees, writhing. The black veins spread up his neck, across his face. His wolf howled inside him, a sound of such anguish that several pack members whimpered in sympathy. Susan rushed to him, but the king's voice stopped her cold. "Touch him, and you'll share his curse." Susan froze, her face pale with terror. She looked at Jennifer, really looked at her, and for the first time there was no contempt in her eyes, only fear. The king turned Jennifer to face the assembled pack. His hand remained on her mark, steady and possessive. He raised his voice so every wolf could hear. "Before this moon," his words carried the weight of ancient magic. "Before this pack, before the laws that govern us all." He pulled Jennifer against his side. She felt small next to his warrior's frame, but not weak, not anymore. The mark pulsed with strength she'd never known. "I claim Jennifer Wayne as my mate, my Luna, the queen of all Lycans." The mark responded to his words, blazing brighter. Jennifer's skin hummed with power. Her wolf broke in moments before surged to life, with a roar that echoed through both their minds. The pack fell silent, not out of respect, out of terror. They had laughed at the future queen. They had mocked the Lycan king's chosen mate. And now they would face the consequences. Susan found her voice, though it came out as a shriek. "No, this is wrong. She's nothing. She's always been nothing. I'm the beautiful one. I'm the one who deserves—" Silence. The king's power dropped the temperature 20 degrees. Frost formed on the grass. Susan's voice died mid-sentence, frozen in her throat by command alone. "You dare?" The king's eyes blazed as he looked at Susan. "You dare insult a crowned Luna before her king?" Susan trembled, but pride or stupidity made her continue. "She stole my life, everything I worked for. The king moved. One moment he stood beside Jennifer. The next he loomed over Susan, his presence suffocating. He didn't touch her, didn't need to. "Your sister," he said quietly, each word dripping with lethal promise, "carries the mark of the first Luna. She bears the power of the ancient bloodline. She was chosen by fate itself. He leaned closer. And you? You are nothing but a jealous child playing at being important. Susan's legs gave out. She crumpled to the ground, sobbing. The king straightened, his attention returning to Alpha Marcus. Your pack will answer for this insult. Terms will be delivered by week's end. Until then, you will remember what you witnessed here tonight. His golden eyes swept across every face, burning the moment into their memories. No wolf, he declared, his voice carrying the weight of an oath, shall ever harm what is mine. Those who wronged her will kneel or bleed. Magic crackled through the air as the words became binding. Several pack members gasped as invisible bonds snapped into place around their throats. A blood oath, witnessed by the moon herself. The king's massive wolf appeared at his side. He turned to Jennifer, his expression softening. You're safe now, he murmured. But you need to trust me. Can you do that? Jennifer looked at the pack, her pack kneeling in terror. She looked at Joseph, still writhing with the curse burning through him. She looked at Susan, broken and sobbing in the dirt. Then she looked at the king, at the mark glowing on his throat that matched hers, at the power and certainty in his golden eyes. She nodded. Good. He lifted her as if she weighed nothing, settling her onto his wolf's back before swinging up behind her. His arms encircled her, one hand still resting over her mark. Hold on. As they began to ride away, Jennifer looked back one last time. The clearing that had witnessed her humiliation now witnessed her ascension. 300 wolves knelt in the dirt, heads bowed in submission. Susan sobbed, held upright only by her shattered pride. Joseph lay broken, paying the price for his cruelty. And above them all, the blood moon shone silver once more, as if even the sky itself acknowledged the shift in power. Jennifer turned forward, letting the king guide them into the forest. The pack's whispers faded behind them, replaced by the rhythmic thunder of the wolf's paws and the king's steady heartbeat against her back. She was leaving behind everything she'd ever known. But as the mark pulsed warm against her skin, Jennifer realized something. She wasn't running away. She was running toward her destiny. Jennifer woke to silk. Not the rough cotton sheets she'd known her entire life, but silk so fine it felt like water against her skin. For a moment, she lay still, eyes closed, clinging to the edges of sleep where nothing had changed. Where she was still invisible, Jennifer Wayne, preparing for a ceremony that would... The memory crashed over her like a wave. The rejection, the pain, the king. Her eyes snapped open. The chamber stretched above her in impossible luxury. Vaulted ceilings painted with constellations that seemed to move in the dim light. Tapestries depicting battles between Lycans and ancient enemies hung on walls of polished obsidian. The bed she lay in could have fit her entire family, massive posts carved with wolves and moons, curtains of silver silk pulled back to reveal the room beyond. Through floor-to-ceiling windows, she could see mountains crowned with snow, forests stretching endlessly into morning mist, and a sky just beginning to blush with dawn. This wasn't her pack's territory. This wasn't anywhere she'd ever been. Panic clawed up her throat. Jennifer threw back the covers, silk, of course, and stumbled out of bed. Someone had changed her clothes while she slept. Gone was her torn ceremony dress, replaced by a nightgown of midnight blue that felt like wearing shadows. The fabric moved like liquid, clinging and flowing with every breath. The mark on her throat glowed faintly in the pre-dawn light, pulsing with her racing heartbeat. She had to leave, had to get out, had to... The door. Jennifer ran for it, her bare feet silent on the cold stone floor. She grabbed the iron handle and pulled. It opened easily. 2 guards stood in the corridor beyond, massive Lycans in black armor. The moment they saw her, they dropped to one knee, their fists pressed over their hearts. "My lady," they said in unison, their voices reverent. Jennifer stumbled backward. I need to... Does the Luna require assistance?" The one on the left, a scarred warrior with kind eyes, looked up at her with genuine concern. "Should we summon the healers? Or food? You must be hungry." "I need to leave." The words came out strangled. "Please, I need to go home." The guards exchanged glances. The one on the right, younger with hair like burnished copper, spoke carefully. "My lady, this is your home now. You're safe here. The king has ordered your protection." "I don't want protection," Jennifer's voice cracked. I need." She couldn't finish. Didn't know what she needed. Everything was too much, too fast. Yesterday she'd been nobody. Now she was what? A Luna? A queen? It was impossible. It had to be a mistake. "Jennifer." The voice cut through her panic like a knife, low, commanding, familiar. King Donald emerged from the shadows at the end of the corridor, moving with that predatory grace that made her wolf sit up and take notice. He wore simpler clothes than before, black leather and linen that somehow made him look more dangerous, not less. His golden eyes found hers across the distance. "Leave us," he told the guards. They bowed and disappeared down the corridor without question, their footsteps fading to silence. The king approached slowly, like she was a wild thing that might bolt. Maybe she was. Her heart hammered against her ribs. The mark on her throat flared brighter as he drew near, responding to his proximity like it had its own consciousness. "You're afraid," he observed. "Not a question." "I'm terrified." Jennifer pressed her back against the doorframe. "I don't understand what's happening. Yesterday I was, and now I'm. This is all wrong. I'm not supposed to be here." "Where are you supposed to be?" The question made her falter. Back at the pack? Where Joseph had rejected her, where Susan had humiliated her, where 300 wolves had laughed while her world shattered. "I don't know," she whispered. "But not here. Not how this." She gestured at the luxurious chamber behind her, at the mark glowing on her skin. "I'm nobody. I'm just Jennifer. I'm not a Luna?" The king stopped 10 feet away, giving her space but pinning her with his gaze. "A queen? Fate's chosen?" "Yes. No." She pressed her hands to her face. "I'm a mistake. I have to be. Things like this don't happen to people like me. People like you." He said it slowly, tasting each word. "Tell me, Jennifer, what kind of person are you?" "The invisible kind." The admission hurt coming out. "The one people don't see. The one they forget about while they're looking at someone prettier, stronger, better. I'm the shadow. I'm the mistake." "Is that what they told you?" "They didn't have to tell me. I lived it." Jennifer's voice cracked. "Every single day of my life, I watched people look past me to my sister. I watched them choose her over me for everything: friends, attention, respect. And I accepted it, because what else could I do? That's just who I am." The king was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer than she'd heard it yet. "Come with me." "What?" "Walk with me, please." He extended his hand, not demanding, offering. "I want to show you something." Jennifer looked at his hand, then at his face. Those golden eyes held no pity, no contempt, just patience, and something else she couldn't name. Slowly, she placed her hand in his. His grip was warm, firm, without being crushing. The moment their skin touched, the mark blazed brighter. Jennifer gasped as power rippled through her. Not painful, but overwhelming. She could feel him through the bond, his presence, his strength, the barely leashed dominance he kept locked down tight. "You feel that?" he asked quietly. She nodded, not trusting her voice. "That's not pity. That's not a mistake." He tugged gently, leading her down the corridor. "That's fate, recognizing what belongs together." They walked through the fortress in silence. Early morning light streamed through narrow windows, painting everything in shades of gold and amber. Lycans they passed immediately knelt, their eyes downcast in respect. Jennifer tried to pull her hand free, embarrassed, but the king held firm. He led her up a spiral staircase, higher and higher until her legs burned. Finally, they emerged onto a battlement overlooking the kingdom below. Jennifer's breath caught. The view stretched for miles. Mountains crowned with eternal snow. Forests so vast they looked like green oceans. Rivers cutting silver paths through valleys. And in the distance, she could see settlements, clusters of buildings where Lycans lived, worked, thrived. "This," the king said, gesturing at the expanse, "is what you're inheriting. Every wolf, every Lycan, every pack across 12 territories. All of it." Jennifer shook her head. "I can't." 300 years ago, he continued, his voice carrying on the wind, the last Luna died, protecting this realm from a vampire uprising. Before she fell, she gave a prophecy. She told our seers that a new Luna would come, one marked by rejection, born under twin stars, carrying the heart of flame. He turned to face her, his golden eyes intense. "You were born during a twin star eclipse, weren't you?" Jennifer's mouth went dry. "How did you—" "I've been searching for you for 5 years. Every blood moon ceremony, every pack territory, every she-wolf who might fit the prophecy. I was beginning to think I'd misunderstood the vision." His jaw tightened. "Then last night, I felt you. Your pain, your humiliation, your bond breaking it called to me across miles like a beacon. That's how I knew." "Knew what?" "That you're her. The Luna we've been waiting for." He reached up slowly, giving her time to pull away, and trace the glowing mark on her throat with one finger. "This mark doesn't lie, Jennifer. It doesn't appear for mistakes. It only awakens for true mates for Luna and King, bound by fate itself." The touch sent shivers through her entire body. The mark pulsed under his finger, and Jennifer felt something crack open inside her chest. Not breaking, opening. Like a door she hadn't known was locked suddenly swinging wide. "But why me?" Her voice came out smaller than she intended. "I'm not special. I'm not strong. I'm just—" "You survived years of being invisible." His hand moved to cup her face, tilting it up to meet his gaze. "You endured cruelty and neglect from the people who should have protected you. You stood before your entire pack while they laughed at your pain, and you didn't break. You didn't beg. You didn't collapse." His thumb brushed her cheekbone, and Jennifer realized she was crying. "That's not weakness," he said softly. "That's strength forged in fire. That's exactly what a Luna needs to rule." "I don't know how to rule anything," Jennifer whispered. "Neither did I when I took the throne at 20. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "I was terrified. I made mistakes, but I learned, and you will too. What if I fail?" "Then we fail together." His hand remained on her face, warm and steady. "But I don't believe you will. Do you know why?" She shook her head. "Because you're still standing here, despite everything that happened. Despite the fear, despite believing you're a mistake, you're still here, asking questions, fighting to understand." His eyes held hers. "That's courage, Jennifer. That's what makes you Luna." The words settled into her chest like warmth. Not fixing everything, she was still terrified. Still confused, but making it feel slightly less impossible. "I don't know what to do," she admitted. "For now?" The king's smile widened fractionally. "Breathe. Eat breakfast. Let your body recover from the bond awakening. The rest will come. And then? Then I'll tell you about the prophecy. About what the mark means. About the power sleeping inside you." His expression grew serious. "And I'll tell you about the ritual." "Ritual?" "Tomorrow night, under the full moon." His thumb traced her jaw. "Your power needs to fully awaken. It will be difficult, painful, but necessary." Jennifer's stomach dropped. "How painful?" "I won't lie to you, it will test you, but you won't face it alone." His hand fell away from her face, and she immediately missed the warmth. "I'll be there. I'll help you through it." He stepped back, putting space between them. The loss of proximity made the mark dim slightly, and Jennifer felt oddly bereft. "For now," he said, his voice returning to that commanding tone, "let's get food into you. You haven't eaten since before the ceremony." As if summoned by his words, her stomach growled loudly. Jennifer flushed with embarrassment, but the king just laughed a real laugh that transformed his severe features into something almost boyish. "Come, the dining hall awaits." They walked back through the fortress together. This time, Jennifer didn't try to pull her hand away when he offered it. The bond hummed between them, and her wolf quiet, since the rejection stirred with something that felt almost like contentment. The king led her to a private dining room where a feast had been laid out. Fresh bread, honey, fruits she'd never seen before, meat that made her mouth water. He pulled out a chair for her, then sat across the table. "Eat," he commanded gently. "Then rest. Tonight, I'll send someone to explain more about what's coming, but for now, just exist. Be Jennifer. Not Luna, not Queen, just you." She picked up a piece of bread, her hands shaking slightly. "I don't know if I remember how to just be me." "Then learn again." His eyes held hers across the table. "You have time, and you have me." The promise in those words made her chest tight. They ate in comfortable silence, and for the first time since the rejection, Jennifer felt something other than pain or fear. She felt possibility. That night, alone in her chambers, Jennifer stood at the window watching the moon rise. Full and silver, so different from the blood moon that had witnessed her humiliation. The mark glowed softly on her skin, pulsing in rhythm with her heart. She pressed her hand over it, feeling the warmth, the power sleeping just beneath the surface. "Queen of the Moonfire." The words whispered through her mind, not her voice, but something older, something that had been sleeping inside her for 23 years, waiting for this moment. Jennifer closed her eyes and let the voice wash over her. "You are not a mistake," it whispered. "You are destiny. You are flame. You are power incarnate. Wake up, daughter of the moon. Wake up and claim what is yours." The mark blazed brighter, and for just a moment, Jennifer saw a vision of herself crowned in silver fire, standing beside the king, ruling an empire with power that made mountains bow. Then it faded, leaving her standing alone in the moonlight. But the certainty remained. She wasn't a mistake. She was exactly where she was meant to be. The Silver Fang Pack had never known silence. Even in winter, when snow thickened the forest floor and wind howled through the pines, the heart of the pack pulsed with life, laughter, training, arguments, the ordinary chaos of wolves who thought they ruled their small kingdom. But that morning, a strange hush hung over the territory. It wasn't peace, it was fear. The Lycan King's visit had left more than broken pride behind. His name still trembled on every lip. His aura still clung to the air like smoke after lightning. Everyone knew what Susan and Joseph had done. Everyone knew who they had humiliated, Jennifer. And everyone had seen how the king, the Lycan himself, had stepped in and claimed her in front of them all. The gossip burned through the pack like wildfire. Some whispered that the king had bewitched Jennifer, others that she'd bewitched him. But beneath all the murmuring was one shared truth. The Silver Fang Pack had offended the most powerful Lycan in the kingdom, and now they would pay. In the Alpha's hall, Susan's voice echoed like a whip. "They can't possibly think this is our fault," she snapped, pacing in her emerald gown. Her mother's jewels still glittered at her throat, though her face was pale from sleepless nights. "He's a Lycan, unpredictable, violent. He chose her to shame us, to make us look weak." Joseph sat slumped in his father's chair, the Alpha's insignia gleaming on his arm. But he looked nothing like a leader, just a man, cornered by forces far beyond him. Susan's eyes hardened. "Then we'll remind them who truly holds power here. Jennifer was nothing a weakling who barely shifted right. The king will forget her soon enough." But even she didn't believe it. Not when her reflection showed the flicker of panic beneath her beauty. Outside, the murmurs grew louder. Pack members gathered near the hall steps, whispering of punishments, of lost alliances, of how the king's wolves had been seen patrolling the borders. The Silver Fang pack, once proud, once feared, now looked like prey, waiting for the hunter's shadow to fall. That night, when most were asleep, 7 elders gathered deep in the Alpha's council chamber. The torches burned low, painting their faces with uneasy light. The air was thick with the smell of ink, blood, and secrecy. Elder Marcus, the eldest of them, cleared his throat. "We cannot allow panic to rule us. The king's temper will cool. We only need to ensure our standing remains strong." "Strong?" hissed Elder Vera. "Our Alpha's heir humiliated the Lycan king. There's no recovering from that unless we act." Silence settled again. A dangerous, knowing kind of silence. Elder Hale, always the cautious one, folded his hands. "Let's not forget, this began long before the king arrived. The girl, Jennifer, she was never meant to stay." Marcus nodded slowly. "A necessary sacrifice." "Sacrifice?" Vera sneered. "She was family." Marcus's expression turned sharp. "Family is a luxury when power is at stake. Susan had the potential to unite our bloodline with Joseph's claim. Jennifer was a distraction. The prophecy said the Silver Fang's future lies with the Alpha's chosen mate, not the rejected one." The words hung heavy in the chamber. Hale leaned forward. "So, it's true then. The rejection, her humiliation, it was arranged?" Marcus didn't flinch. "Of course. Susan wanted what Jennifer had Joseph's bond, the heir's claim. And we wanted what Susan's ambition could bring. Her union with the Alpha's son would secure the council's control for decades. Until the king interfered," muttered Vera. A door creaked just a whisper of sound, but none noticed. A figure stood beyond the half-open chamber door, frozen in the shadowed corridor. Jennifer. She'd come to the hall seeking air, unable to sleep, haunted by the king's voice, by his strange gentleness that clashed with the beast she'd glimpsed behind his eyes. But the words she now heard, they struck harder than any blow. Her own blood, her own pack. It hadn't been fate or misunderstanding. They had plotted her destruction. Her rejection wasn't a tragic accident. It was a plan. For Susan's gain. For power. For greed. Her knees nearly buckled, but she pressed a hand to the wall, forcing herself silent. "And now," Marcus continued, "the Lycan king has undone everything. He's made her his, and if she turns him against us—" "She won't," said Hale quickly. "Jennifer is meek. She always was." Jennifer's hand curled into a fist. Meek. That word, how many times had she heard it whispered behind her back? How often had they mistaken her silence for weakness? She felt her heart beating harder, louder, until it filled her ears. Marcus grunted. "Even so, if she speaks the truth of what we did, she won't live long enough to—" Susan's voice interrupted from the doorway behind him. The elders turned. Susan stepped into the chamber, her face calm, her tone colder than the mountain wind. "If she becomes a threat, I'll take care of it. I always do." Jennifer's breath caught. Her sister's words sliced deeper than the rejection itself ever had. Quietly, she backed away from the doorway before they could sense her presence. She fled down the corridor, through the empty courtyard, until she reached the forest edge. There, under the full moon, she finally let herself break. Her body shook with rage and betrayal. The people she had lived for, served for, bled for, had plotted her humiliation like a game of politics. Her sister had watched her crumble and smiled. The tears came hot and bitter, but beneath them, something else stirred, something far older and darker. Power. The same power that had made the Lycan king pause when he looked at her. The same power her pack had feared since she was born. Jennifer raised her head to the moonlight, her voice trembling with fury. "They took my dignity," she whispered. "I'll take their throne." The words weren't just a vow, they were a promise. The air trembled with it. The bond between her and the king burned hotter, as if her defiance had reached him across the distance. And perhaps it had. Far beyond the Silver Fang borders, in the marble halls of his fortress, the Lycan king stood before the great window overlooking his lands. The moonlight caught in his silver eyes. He'd been restless for hours, a tension in his chest he couldn't name. Then, the faint scent of wild roses drifted through the night, her scent. His wolves had already reported the unrest in the Silver Fang pack. The elders' meeting, their treachery, the whispers of Susan's threat. He had let his spies run free, unseen, through their ranks. Now, every secret was his to wield. But it wasn't anger that stirred in him. It was pride. He had seen something in Jennifer that day beneath the shock, beneath the broken heart, a spark, a storm waiting to rise. And now, it was rising. He could feel her rage across the miles, raw and powerful. She was shedding her fear like a skin. "She's awakening," he murmured, more to himself than to anyone else. At his side, his beta frowned. "The girl?" The king's lips curved faintly. "The queen." The beta hesitated. "But she was betrayed," the king cut in, his tone sharp. "And betrayal breeds strength. The Silver Fang pack believes they've destroyed her. They've merely forged what I needed." He turned away from the window, his cloak sweeping like the wing of a shadowed beast. "Prepare the council," he ordered. "By dawn, I want the names of every elder who took part in that meeting. They will learn what it means to conspire against what is mine." The beta bowed low, then left. The king lingered, staring once more toward the distant north, toward the forest where Jennifer's pain still pulsed through the bond that tethered them. For the first time in years, his chest ached with something unfamiliar. Not pity, not rage. Recognition. He knew that kind of fire, the kind born of loss, betrayal, and defiance. She was no longer a broken girl. She was becoming something far more dangerous. In the Silver Fang woods, Jennifer straightened slowly. The wind rustled the pines, whispering secrets of old wolves and ancient thrones. Her tears had dried, leaving her eyes glinting like shards of moonlight. She wasn't going back, not as the girl they'd mocked, nor as the broken sister they'd discarded. If the Lycan king had claimed her to humiliate her pack, then so be it. She would turn his claim into power. She would learn to wield it not to beg for respect, but to command it. And when she returned to the Silver Fang territory, it wouldn't be as their outcast. It would be as their reckoning. The moonlight flared around her like a crown. Far above, wolves howled a deep, echoing chorus that rolled through the night. Somehow, she knew one of those howls belonged to him, the Lycan king. And for the first time, she didn't flinch at the thought of his claim. She understood it. She understood it. It wasn't possession. It was recognition. He had seen what her pack refused to see. Her power, her rage, her worth. Jennifer took one last look at the Silver Fang lands, glowing faintly beneath the moon. "Let them sleep," she murmured. "When they wake, their world will belong to me." Then she turned, the forest parting before her steps, and vanished into the shadows where destiny waited. The Lycan king, the pack, and the prophecy they would all soon learn that the meek little wolf they had cast aside had teeth sharp enough to tear empires apart. The Silver Fang pack no longer ruled from the shadows of its crumbling pride. Its banners, once a symbol of arrogance, now hung beneath the crest of the Lycan throne, their silver wolf joined with the king's black moon sigil. And at the center of that new world stood Jennifer, the rejected she-wolf who had become queen. It had been weeks since the night the old world burned. Weeks since justice was done. Since the elders confessed to their schemes under the weight of the king's wrath. Joseph and Susan, her betrayers, her blood had been stripped of their titles and exiled beyond the borders, where no pack dared claim them. The Lycan king had offered Jennifer vengeance. She could have demanded their deaths. She could have ended their bloodline with a single word, but she hadn't. "Let them live," she had said softly, "so they can see what I become." And become she did. Now, she ruled beside the king, not as his ornament, but as his equal. The wolves and Lycans, who once whispered her name with pity, now bowed in reverence. Her presence stilled rooms, her words reshaped laws. The court had never seen a Luna like her. On the morning of the Unity Decree, the grand hall of the Lycan citadel shimmered with moonlight, filtering through crystal arches. Dozens of banners from the scattered wolf clans hung overhead, symbols of a realm once fractured, now bound by a single reign. Jennifer stood before them, cloaked in white and silver. Her crown, forged in moonstone and obsidian, gleamed like frost. At her side, King Donald stood, silent, tall, imposing, but his gaze softened when it rested on her. She stepped forward, unrolling a scroll sealed with her mark, a crescent moon wreathed in flame. Her voice carried through the chamber, calm and clear. "From this day forth, no bond shall be forced. No mate shall be rejected in public humiliation. The moon's gift is sacred, not a weapon for pride or power." A murmur spread among the gathered wolves, disbelief, awe, emotion. Many had suffered under the old traditions. Many had watched their hearts torn apart by the cruelty of rejection. Jennifer's tone deepened. "We were made for more than dominance and submission. We were made to rise together." Her eyes swept the room, pausing on the wolves from the Silver Fang pack who now served under new leadership. None dared meet her gaze for long. The king stepped beside her, placing a hand over hers as she sealed the decree. The wax hissed as their combined marks flared, his dark as night, hers radiant as dawn. A symbol of balance, a promise kept. Later that evening, as the realm celebrated the first festival of unity, the palace gardens overflowed with music and silver fire. Wolves and Lycans danced together under lanterns shaped like moons. Children laughed, warriors drank and sang. Jennifer watched from the edge of the balcony, her white gown catching the soft wind. The scent of roses, her scent mingled with the crisp mountain air. For the first time in years, she felt peace. Her reflection in the polished marble no longer looked like the frightened girl who'd been cast aside. The woman, staring back, wore power like second skin, calm, radiant, untouchable. Below, the king's voice carried through the celebration, deep and commanding as ever, but lighter now when he laughed. She had done that, she had taught a warrior to smile again. Her gaze drifted toward the horizon, where the moon began to rise, not white, but crimson, the blood moon. The omen of endings and beginnings. The same moon that had witnessed her humiliation now returned to crown her triumph. Behind her, footsteps sounded steady, familiar. "Still running from the feast, my queen?" The king's voice teased softly. She smiled faintly, not turning. "I've had my fill of crowds. They make too much noise. And you," he murmured, coming closer, "have always preferred the quiet moments, the ones that matter." His warmth enveloped her before his touch did a presence so powerful it bent the air. He stopped beside her, gazing out over the kingdom. The city below shimmered under the blood-red glow, alive with firelight and song. "It's strange," he said. "When I first met you, I thought the moon had sent me a reminder of what I'd lost. But now I see." She turned her head, meeting his gaze. "You see what?" He smiled, rare, real. "That the moon wasn't returning my past, it was giving me my future." Jennifer's throat tightened. "You think this was fate?" "I know it," he said simply. "Everything, your pain, your rejection, your rise, the moon chose you long before I did." He reached for her hand. His touch lingered against her glowing mark, the place where his claim, her power, and destiny itself had intertwined. Her pulse answered his. The mark flared faintly, not as ownership, but as unity. I once thought the mark meant surrender, she whispered. Now I know it means strength shared. The king's eyes darkened with emotion. And balance restored. They stood in silence for a moment, letting the wind carry away the noise of celebration, until all that remained was the thrum of the bond between them. Below, the wolves raised their heads to the sky. 1,000 voices howled, as one a harmony that rippled through the night, echoing through mountains and valleys alike. The Lycan and Wolf realms, once divided by pride and blood, were now one under her reign. And for the first time in centuries, peace didn't feel fragile. It felt earned. Jennifer stepped closer to the balcony's edge, the moonlight painting her in silver fire. Her voice, soft but sure, broke the quiet. "Do you remember," she asked, "the day I was claimed?" "How could I forget?" he said. "You looked at me like I was your enemy." "You were," she replied, smiling faintly, "until I learned I was my own first." She turned to face him fully now, the blood moon glowing behind her like a crown. Her hair danced in the wind, her eyes shining with something deeper than victory serenity. "He rejected me for my sister," she said almost to herself, "but fate," her gaze lifted skyward, "fate had a better claim." The king stepped forward, closing the last of the distance between them. His hand cupped her cheek, rough palms against soft skin, the touch of a ruler and a lover, both reverent and real. Their foreheads met. The world seemed to hold its breath. Then he kissed her. It wasn't the kind of kiss that burned. It was the kind that healed. The kind that sealed promises made in pain and fulfilled in light. As their lips met beneath the blood moon, Jennifer's mark blazed bright enough to illuminate the balcony, casting a silver glow across their joined figures. The mark pulsed once, then again not a brand, but a beacon. A sign that the moon, the wolves, and the Lycans were no longer divided. That power could be gentle. That strength could be kind. That a girl once humiliated before her pack could rise to rewrite the laws of an empire. When they finally parted, her breath caught softly. "What happens now?" she asked, though her voice carried no fear. The king smiled, that quiet, unreadable smile that always came before he said something that mattered. "Now," he said, "you rule the world you were meant to save." She looked out over the balcony one last time at the realm reborn, at the people dancing beneath the blood-red light, at the wolves howling not in mourning, but in celebration. The moon above seemed to pulse with her heartbeat, and in that rhythm she felt it, the balance she had fought for, the justice she had earned. Pain had shaped her. Betrayal had forged her. But love had crowned her. And when she smiled, it wasn't the smile of a survivor. It was the smile of a queen. She turned to face him fully now, the blood moon glowing behind her like a crown. Her hair danced in the wind, her eyes shining with something deeper than victory serenity. "He rejected me for my sister," she said almost to herself. "But fate," her gaze lifted skyward, "fate had a better claim." The king stepped forward, closing the last of the distance between them. His hand cupped her cheek, rough palms against soft skin, the touch of a ruler and a lover, both reverent and real. Their foreheads met. The world seemed to hold its breath. Then he kissed her. It wasn't the kind of kiss that burned. It was the kind that healed. The kind that sealed promises made in pain and fulfilled in light. As their lips met beneath the blood moon, Jennifer's mark blazed bright enough to illuminate the balcony, casting a silver glow across their joined figures. The mark pulsed once, then again not a brand, but a beacon. A sign that the moon, the wolves, and the Lycans were no longer divided. That power could be gentle. That strength could be kind. That a girl once humiliated before her pack could rise to rewrite the laws of an empire. When they finally parted, her breath caught softly. "What happens now?" she asked, though her voice carried no fear. The king smiled, that quiet, unreadable smile that always came before he said something that mattered. "Now," he said, "you rule the world you were meant to save." She looked out over the balcony one last time, at the realm reborn, at the people dancing beneath the blood-red light, at the wolves howling not in mourning, but in celebration. The moon above seemed to pulse with her heartbeat, and in that rhythm, she felt it the balance she had fought for, the justice she had earned. Pain had shaped her. Betrayal had forged her. But love had crowned her. And when she smiled, it wasn't the smile of a survivor. It was the smile of a queen. Far below, a lone wolf lifted its head and howled at the blood moon. Soon, others joined 1,000 voices blending into one song that filled the night. Jennifer listened, eyes closed, hand resting over her mark where the king's touch still lingered. The sound wasn't sorrow, it was worship. And as the last echo faded into the mountains, she whispered to the moon, her eternal witness, her silent friend, balance restored. The blood moon shimmered brighter in answer, as though the goddess herself bowed in acknowledgement. And beneath that ancient light, Jennifer, the rejected she-wolf, who became Luna Queen, kissed her king once more, sealing not just their love, but a new era, an era born from rejection, crowned by destiny, and ruled by the moon's chosen. Questions for you. Do you think Jennifer was right to forgive her pack instead of destroying them? What would you have done if your mate rejected you publicly? Do you believe the Lycan King truly loved Jennifer from the start? Or was it fate's design? Should Susan and Joseph have been exiled or punished more severely? What moment in the story hit you the hardest, her rejection or her revenge? Share your thoughts in the comments. I love reading your interpretations and theories. If you love werewolf romance, enemies to lovers tension, royal intrigue, and powerful redemption arcs, this story will keep you hooked until the very end. It's filled with raw emotion, breathtaking transformation, and a love story that proves fate always finds its way even through betrayal and heartbreak. So, if you're ready to experience a story that burns with passion, power, and poetic justice, hit play, like the video, and don't forget to subscribe to Elizabeth Romance Collections for more dramatic and emotional werewolf love stories every week.